This video starts on a white screen. The Microsoft logo appears. The screen fades to black. A green background featuring the letters A and I appears, followed by a slideshow showcasing new technologies.
AI for Accessibility is a Microsoft program committed to influencing the future of technology to empower people living with disabilities. Whether reimagining the future of accessible education, building experiences that are accessible for people of all abilities, or developing AI-powered technology to make the world more inclusive, we are pushing the limits of what AI can do.
Screen fades to black. A speaker appears.
Hi, everybody, and thanks for tuning in. This conversation is going to be very much focused on AI and accessibility innovation, and I have a fantastic guest here with me today.
Thank you. Yeah, so I'm Dr. Tim Coughlin. I'm a senior lecturer in educational technology at the Open University, and a big part of my role is around understanding accessibility needs of our students and research around accessibility for online learning and online education.
We had the pleasure to partner with you and with Open University through an AI for Accessibility grant. The team has been selected because of your proposal and the work, which was Project ADMINS. Can you tell us more about what the project was about? Why did it even come to be? And where are you with the state of things now?
So at the Open University, we support a really large number of students who disclose disabilities to us. It's over 30,000 now, and that obviously brings with it a lot of responsibility and work to find out about those students and their support needs. So part of my role really was to talk to students and try to get their voice into our research. So when we talked to our disabled students group, one of the things that came up was this idea of the administrative burden that they have to face and they have to deal with before they can get on to studying. And we did some survey work and research to try and better understand this and really evidence that it was a problem. It was having a lot of impacts on students. And based on that, we obviously then were thinking, well, what are some of the potential solutions to this? And the idea of a chatbot or a virtual assistant really kind of came up because we knew that students benefited from having conversations. So we have advisors who try to speak to all of our students and give them support and understand their needs, but that doesn't, not all students want that conversation, and it doesn't always happen. So yeah, that was kind of the genesis of the idea. And then obviously, as you said, we came to Microsoft, and it was really great to get that positive response about the idea. And that led us to create the ADMINS assistant. Our development team worked with the Azure services and kind of put those together. And then it was kind of an iterative process of trying it out with students and getting their feedback.
I really love the concept, and as a person who has a hidden disability, I don't always feel comfortable discussing my disability with another person. Sometimes you just want a safe environment where you can ask questions, but not necessarily disclose or have to disclose. So I really love the concept, and I love the point you made about lead generation. Is there any feedback you've received so far? What are the preliminary responses to using a chatbot, and how do the students feel?
In our main trial that we ran towards the end of the first year, the majority of students preferred using the chatbot to filling in the form, which was, our initial goal really, was to see whether when they were asked, about both of these options and experienced both of them, which they prefer. So that was really positive. I think there's a lot more that we can do with it, but it's that sort of initial sense that we're going in a good direction. So yeah, they appreciated the kind of flexibility of it. They could talk about disabilities in their own terms and language, and the system would do some of the work of understanding that and figuring out, what categories and things what boxes should be ticked. And it just also kind of helped people focus. I think you can get overwhelmed by filling in forms and stuff, but the way the chatbot kind of allowed you to focus on one question and one area at a time was also really appreciated. So yeah, we got quite a lot of positive feedback, and Also other things that, will direct our work. So people were really interested in if it could give them recommendations about, personalized suggestions about things that might help them. So that's one of the directions we're really interested in now.
And it's such an interesting concept around the support around the forms, especially because, as we know, across the variety of disabilities, form tend to be a hurdle, right? They're not the easiest to fill, or there can be accessibility issues in accessing the forms. And I immediately think of how this can be applied to so many sectors and so many industries, not just education. So that leads into my final question. If you were to have an advice for a company or organization that is considering a similar sort of chatbot or interaction for their employees, students, whatever the audience is, what would be the advice to them, given that you have the experience of building it and then getting feedback on it?
I think there are lots of opportunities here, and we know that these processes, around disability, around trying to get support for your needs, are some of the hardest processes to actually go through. That's what people are telling us. It's these disability-related processes that are difficult. And I think we've had conversations with lots of different organizations already. Everybody has slightly different processes, but I think actually a lot of the things you're asking people are the same. So I think there's a lot of transferability there. We're building up things like knowledge base of the kind of questions that people will ask. And some of those will be different for an educational situation. So for example, for us, we know students they're going to be studying online, and that's something they've not really experienced before. So we kind of expect that if you ask them something like, what help will you need to take part in an online tutorial, that's quite a difficult question for somebody, because they may have never done that before. So whatever their disabilities are, they may not really, they may need some guidance there. So there's that side to it. But yeah, overall, I think the potential for chatbots and virtual assistants, around accessibility is massive. I think it's not been explored that much yet, and we're still, one of the things we came up against is there's not really the kind of guidance like there is for the sort of web content accessibility guidelines. That doesn't yet exist for chatbots and virtual assistants. So some of that work, you've got to do the testing, do accessibility testing with users and experts, because there will be things that are challenging, but equally I think the flexibility, being able to have conversations with voice or text or through different channels is a huge potential benefit for accessibility.
Thank you so much, Dr. Tim. I personally took a lot from this conversation, and I take a lot every time we actually chat. So thank you for today, and thank you everybody for tuning in. We hope we inspired you in terms of ideas and ways to consider new avenues when it comes to accessibility.